As a mechanical engineer at one of the world's top companies in the City of London, James Huston earns well above the average Londoner's salary. But his home, in Acton, has made even more. He has generated an equity that is more than his salary throughout his life. His son, who attended Cambridge University and is now a doctor, lives in a small studio, and that is thanks to his parent help. The hard reality is that life has rarely been as hard for a first-time buyer in London as it is today. According to the Land Registry, in the time between James buying his home in 1980 and helping his son buy his in 2015, average local prices roughly increased fivefold, and have continued to rise since then. Prices have increased as real wages have hesitated. The supply of new homes kept at the same level, as demand has steadily risen. Also, regulations governing mortgage lending have tightened, limiting access to finance. Without the support from parents, first-time buyers on average earnings is impossible to enter in the housing ladder. 30 years ago, the average property bought by a first-time buyer in London was worth £120,000, which roughly 1.5 times the UK average price. A very good news for those who bought a home in the early 1990s, but catastrophic for many young people who harbour aspirations of owning today. Forecasts of falling property values have given some would-be buyers hope in the past. But the higher interest rates that are a drag on prices are also pushing up mortgage rates, a scenario that tends to hit first-time buyers particularly hard. Life has become harder for first-time buyers over the course of a generation. This state of affairs is described as a distortion with grave consequences for London, damaging its competitiveness by driving talent turning their backs on the city they would like to call home. Together, the picture of a city that has become more inhospitable for the young, talented and aspirational, where equity-rich parents have increasingly become lenders of last resort. Prices in London have in fact fallen almost 9% over the past 7 years, but that is of no help to buyers, since Londoners' inflation-adjusted earnings are 8% lower than they were during the financial crisis in 2008. Buyers have to choose between accepting much lower living standards than they currently enjoy in order to get a toehold on the property ladder, enduring the proclarity of a rental market in which prices are rising fast, or they further amiss, since the jump in prices has been far more pronounced in the capital than elsewhere in the country. This year, the average first-time buyer in London spent £460,000, double the average price around the rest of the country. In London, the ratio of house prices to salary earnings hit a record level in 2021, at about 14 times, according to the latest figures, totally obliterating the possibility of owning in London for most people. This is the reason why people leaving London. They can't afford to be there in the first place. The aspiration for home ownership remains very strong. It's just become that much further out of reach buyers in London must pull together huge deposits if they want to get onto the ladder. But this is not so easy. In addition, banks are uncomfortable loaning first-time buyers high multiples of their incomes, wherever they are in the country. But in London, where homes cost twice the national average, that is a more serious impediment. Less than a quarter of Londoners owned a home with a mortgage in 2021, a drop of 10% from a decade earlier. More and more would-be buyers are instead being pushed into a rental market in which prices have risen sharply over the past year, hampering their ability to save for a deposit. If you are trying to buy your first property in London, or you are helping your children to get on the housing ladder, please share your experience and your views on the London housing market in the comments of the video. If you have found this video useful, please like, share and subscribe for more videos, and write your comments or questions.